Hey, Steve Zook here. Welcome back to Polkzoo channel and the guitar ladder system. Hey, I'm playing this LH350. They don't make these anymore, and I've had this one a while. It's a new guitar, but as you can hear, it really has a tone. That's unplugged, and you can hear the sound just ringing in the inside. Even playing soft, I can hear it humming in the inside. It's got the violin voice carved solid top. And they're not all like this. It's hard to find a 350 this good. I think they list for around $1,000. I'll sell this for $749. But I'm throwing in a free $175, $179 case, hard case, new case with an arch top, just because I just spent a bunch of money on my studio. I want to recoup a little bit, so I'm making this deal sweet. But this thing really rings out. But this video is going to be entitled, if you want to sample the guitar ladder system, send me an email, stevezook7@yahoo.com. STEVEZOOK, the number 7, not spelled out, at yahoo.com. But this video is called How to Buy a Used Guitar and Not Get Screwed and Get Good Value. Okay, this is kind of a big subject, but I really don't think most people understand all of the components involved in getting a good value on a used guitar. First off, it's smart to buy used, because when you buy new, now there are exceptions. I believe the Loar archtops are a huge exception, and many of the products from the Music Link is an exception. There's some companies you can buy new from and you still get great value. Why? Because they're not spending millions and millions and millions on advertising and what's called neuro branding to get you hypnotized that you have to pay their price. But most stuff that you buy new is not good value. It's like buying a car, at the lot, you drive off, you just lost 15 grand, So it's always better to buy used. Now, what questions are good to ask? We'll throw a couple chord things in between all this. What's the good question to ask when you buy a used guitar? First one I always ask, and I always make all in capitals, do all the notes ring out or do some of them buzz? That's a great question. I'll also ask, is the neck relatively straight? Because some necks can have a little bit of relief, and that's actually a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But notice how they answer that question. Notice if they're kind of overdoing their answers a little bit. Sometimes we all have to do that, even me, because some people don't realize that I'm a really good person to buy a guitar from, because I really know what I'm doing, and I'm an artist. You always get your best values from an artist or an accomplished player. And I'm not trying to sound like an ego trip here, but you can go to vintageguitar.com, put in Steve Zook, read the review of my CD by Mr. Stephen Stone, the great writer, guitar collector, engineer, really a sharp guy. He even says he's bought a few guitars from me, but you always get a better guitar if you buy it from an artist. But anyway, so questions to ask. Do all the notes ring out, clear, or does it need to do some notes buzz? That's pretty simple. Is the neck relatively straight? Does it need setup? Now that's a big one, because a lot of guitars do need setup and some don't, and that's a tough question for people to answer too, because it's subjective. Some people are more picky than other people, so kind of depending on how the person answers it. If they just say, well, it's fine for me, but you might like to have it set up, that's a good answer, because they're being kind of straight with you, But kind of notice how they answer that question. Some people will say, well, it plays pretty good now, but in transportation, the setup may vary. That's true. So that kind of makes you feel good. A lot of times when I buy a used guitar, the only thing I have to do is maybe put on a new set of strings, maybe lower the action at the bridge a little bit or something like that. But with older guitars, a lot of the older made in Japan guitars from the 70s and early 80s, they do need a little bit more, like maybe shave the bottom of the saddle, or if that's already low, which is often the case, you can have a luthier who is comfortable very, very lightly sand the bridge so you can bring the saddle down a little bit more. But that's a good question to ask. Also, you can ask if it has the mojo. Does it ring out? How does it sound unplugged? If it's like a guitar like this has a really, really good sound unplugged, as you can hear. These are half and half. But you can hear that ringing out. Some guitars ring out more than others. Another good question to ask people is, say, is there plenty of fret left? Are there any grooves in the fret? Now, if a guitar has been played, and they answer, yes, there's plenty of fret left, but it has some wear, but they've answered your other question, do all the notes ring out, then you're pretty cool. But you got to kind of be like a Columbo here too. You got to kind of see how much they augment their answers, and we all have to sometimes, because buying a used guitar, I've thought about this a lot lately, and and I don't mean to sound mean or too blunt or whatever, but I think most people really don't understand how hard it is to get a good value or to buy a good used guitar, because there's a lot of parameters. There's a lot of people that just don't really play that much, but they're just looking for that garage sale price so they can buy it and resell it and make a little bit of money or a lot more money. But and also the lowest price is not always your best value, because like for me, if somebody brings me a guitar and I like it and it's a really quality guitar and it has a mojo, I'll pay a little bit more because I want a high quality guitar like that in my inventory. So it's not like if you're just on the garage sale mentality, then just go out and go to 100 garage sales until you maybe find something. But a great deal is good for both parties. I like the old saying, both people are a little uncomfortable if it's a good deal. But sure, we all want to get a good price, but it's got to work for both parties. So that's another good question to ask. Obviously, does it have a case? Does it have a gig bag? How do you pack? Those are good questions. What do you think is special about the guitar? But like I said, there are some good values out there in new guitars, like the Loar archtops and a lot of the products from the Music Link. There's also some companies overseas that are doing some great guitars at great prices. But the important thing too is just like I said, ask somebody, because guitars vary so much from guitar to guitar. Some guitars, whether an acoustic guitar or an electric or a nylon string, whatever, just have more mojo and they ring out more and even have more of an acoustic voice. And also with archtop guitars, a lot of archtop guitars, let me give you an example, like a Joe Pass. Some of them have better mid-range and some of them are really dull in the mid-range and the mid-bass, and it's all the magic mid-range, whether it's an acoustic guitar, especially with archtops, it's the magic mid-range and that hum, like a guitar like this. I can hear that bloom starting to kind of bloom out of the guitar. I'm just using a $100 Zoom Q3. I don't have this plugged in at all. But anyway, I'm not going to get everything in this one video, by the way. But yeah, the most important questions I think are, do all the notes ring out clearly or do some of them buzz? Do all the electronics work? Do the volume controls work? Do the tone controls work? Please check, I usually add in there. Is the neck relatively straight without any severe bowing or twisting? That's a good one to ask too. Any cracks on the guitar, anything not disclosed in the ad. Does it have the mojo? Does it sound good? Does it have nice mid-range and mid-bass? That's good things like that to ask. But I'll tell you, I think the main point that I want to make right now, because I don't want to make this too long, is the Clint Eastwood philosophy. A man's got to know his limitations. I think a lot of people start looking around for a guitar that don't have a lot of experience buying and selling guitars, or buying a lot of guitars and trying them out, and they don't realize how difficult it is to find a great guitar, because the great guitars are few and far between, even the same brand, the same make, the same year. And I think most people have trouble letting go of the control. That's why I sell guitars, and that's why people call me from all over the nation, even the world sometimes, because they can tell I'm a player, they can tell I know what I'm doing, I'm an archtop expert, I'm a guitar expert, I really know guitars, I'll pay more for a great guitar. I spend more money than I make in this business because it's a passion to me, and that's not bullshit. You might be thinking that. It's actually not. I wish it was not true, but it's true. I just love music. I just love guitars. But like I have a guitar on my wall right now. It's an Ibanez made in Japan. I'll do it for $275. It's a great price. Why am I doing it at that price? Because I got into it at a good price. I got lucky. It's got a flame maple back. It's made in Japan in the early 80s. You can see the flame coming through in the inside. I mean, a made in Japan Ibanez, made in Japan with a super flame back. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Here, I know this could be a little funky, but I don't care. I'm not trying to get any awards on videos here. It's that one there. You probably can't You probably can't see the flame on it, but that's a tremendous value for $275. Anyway, but like I said, it's a lot harder to buy a great guitar, whether new or used, but you're better off to buy used unless it's like a Loar archtop or companies that really don't spend millions and millions to market and create what's called narrow branding, so you end up getting screwed and they make more money. Anyway, so it's really, really important to understand, like the Clint Eastwood philosophy, a man's got to know his limitations. I've been buying and selling guitars for over 30 years, probably 35, 40 years, and there's no substitute for having tons and tons of guitars come through your hands and your ears. And you guys out there that have been playing for 30 years know exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes you can just tap a guitar and hear the sound, or you can have a guitar on the wall and play one string and hear the resonance, you know. But there's lots of different variables. I'm going to get this phone call. I'll come back and finish this.